I want to give you an example of a service design initiative. So this is something I'm currently working on. I've changed some of the details just to keep it anonymous. But overall, this is the concept that I'm working on. And this visual, by the way, is quite meaningful to the proprietors and to the organization that's actually developing this adjunct or this add-on to their service offering. So here's a little bit about the context. So what they want to do is to build a new service offering and integrate it into their current service offerings. And also they want to make sure that this over the long term is successful, and the different ways of working, we call it making it stick. We want this to become part of business as usual. So the context, it's a new elective healthcare process within a successful focused custom healthcare practice. So that's the bigger picture of where it's actually coming from. And one of the critical things here, and what I really emphasize with this organization, that deep understanding of all of the stakeholders, so existing patients, potential patients, existing healthcare providers within the practice, the new potential healthcare providers who will be part of this, any kind of integration there. And then also there'll be some changes in the suppliers as well. And then the bigger picture business, so the overall network. So really understanding the implications for all of these about the changes, and at the same time understand clearly where everyone is actually coming from in this process. So I like to start with, okay, what are the capabilities that you have to work with? Well, what's the excellence in every one of your current service provision lines? And what's the potential for the excellence in this new service line? And what is it that we're actually doing as individuals and as teams to create this excellence? What's the capability behind this? What can we leverage? And what's the new elements that we want to find here? And always there's this idea of what is it that the organization is actually doing and providing? What is it that the patient client is actually going to receive? What's the value that they have? What do they see as their pains and gains? And I like to take this a step further. It's not just about the end user. It's about every part of that stakeholder system, employees, current and future. So really thinking about this as every group or team as not only a provider but also a recipient of service. And to take that a little further, so clearly the practice is successful. It's clearly understood who the customers are, what it is that they're setting out to achieve, what the service provision line, what the service team is doing, and how that fits into the bigger business. So developing the same kind of process for the new service line, and at the same time understanding this new job to be done set with new clients and how that fits into the bigger picture of existing client sets and existing jobs to be done. And understanding what's crucial here is actually understanding the different teams. Where can there be overlap? And where do we need to be really clear about what's different? And also how everybody feels about this, a crucial element of this. So take this a little bit further. One of the things that this business really prides itself on is being innovative, learning new processes, embedding those processes into the way that they do what they're doing, and learn and distribute that across the business. So clearly there are lessons to take from existing business lines into the new service provision line. And at the same time, what new things might we be learning from the new business and new clients and new ways of doing things. So the SECI model, this process of taking existing tacit knowledge, successful knowledge, making explicit, experimenting with it, sharing, and really embedding this knowledge. Remember, it's healthcare, so it's really personal and it needs to be highly professional. And patients, call them customers if you want to, really need to get the very, very best. And if we continue now on that theme, there's a process that comes out of Agile, and the system is plan, do, check, and act. There are many different ways to do this kind of check on learning, at the same time that retrospective. So what worked, what can we improve? And I think to have this kind of model that's constant and iterative, I think this is really quite useful, and it's a wonderful practice to have in the actual initiative and the project. I do love this principle of what must the new service have, what should it have, what could it have, and what won't it have. And particularly with anything new, I always like to focus absolutely on the must-haves and the won't-haves. The should-have we can park for later. The could-have, in many ways, these are sort of ego projects or pride projects, and often they can just take up vast amounts of time. It doesn't mean that we shouldn't keep them in mind, but we definitely want to park those off to the side. I think Kanban, or this kind of stackable, okay, what needs to be done now, who needs to be do it, and being really thoughtful and careful about what we're doing as we progress. I do like any of these kind of check, project management kind of initiatives. It also signals a great deal of confidence in what we're doing that's new. And we can also learn a lot from what we currently do and the current ways of doing things. I think that's crucial. One of the fundamental pieces in all of my work, and that I encourage with everybody, is to use something like a service blueprint. What's so crucial about this, it keeps us really focused on customer or client or patient, whatever, what it is that they need to do to get the best out of, and what we need to do to support that. And the beauty of a service blueprint is that not only do we have our customer actions here, we're really thoughtful about what they see and interact with, both in terms of the actual physical presence and also any kind of technology that they have to interact with. At the same time, the onstage, so that the actual service provision team, every individual, either in person or virtually, that they come in contact with, what does that look like, feel like? What are we actually doing to support these actions as we go? And then, of course, behind the scenes, businesses do need to be efficient. And so what are the backstage actions that can be leveraged directly off existing lines of service provision, of practice? And what do we need to modify and change? And importantly, those people who are involved in any of these stages, do they understand it? Is there some kind of challenge or battle or taking resources away from one or the other? Everyone needs to be really clear. And importantly, we're introducing new patients, a new line of service. We need to be sure that our existing lines of service, our existing patients, our existing people who are in our care continue to get what it is that they need to do. Sometimes in businesses we don't always get that right. I do love this ease of use grid, and in this particular case it works like this. So along here, so the estimated value of the concept that we're introducing, low to high. Now we want to be really careful and thoughtful. Okay, is this really worth putting effort and energy into? And at the same time, in terms of implementation, is it relatively easy to implement it, or is it going to be challenging? That doesn't make, if it is challenging or difficult, doesn't mean that we say stop, particularly if we've justified it as of high value. We just really want to be aware that it's going to take time, it's going to take energy. There's probably some challenges of change that are going to take place up here. And it might be really thoughtful to be really clear about this, or there may be ways to introduce more like a soft entry, or the easier parts of the new service that we might want to do. But we just want to be thoughtful about is it value, and how challenging is it going to be to implement. And some of the previous tools we've mentioned are really useful to help with that as well. I do love this concept of setting key priorities, and particularly with new projects, set clear timeframes. So in the next 30 days of this implementation, what are our core priorities that we need to see? This isn't an action plan. This is like the big picture foci of what it is that we want to do. At the end of 30 days, we have a review. Sorry, ideally we want to do 30, 60, 90. And remember that we can just keep repeating 30, 60, 90, 30, 60, 90. So 4 sets of those makes a year, 8 sets makes 2 years. But we want to be clear about these priorities. And the important thing is that at the end of the month, roughly when it comes around to the 30 days, we can play with our numbers a little bit. We just want to have a check-in about where we're at. Understand what comes next, make modifications as we go. And a critical piece is this 90-day set. Have a really thoughtful, clear review of where we're at. Use one of the principles to be able to do that. Now, so that's the first big, sort of more like the strategic, big picture thinking. What happens next really is we're assuming success. Now, how do we actually embed this? How do we scale this? How do we make this, ongoing business as usual? There are a couple of things here that I find really valuable. One is this idea of this attitude formation. So to build attitudes, we really need this idea of, okay, here's the cognitive element of what we're doing. This is the logic. This is the emotive or socio-emotive element of what we're doing and the intent that comes with this. So we need to understand what the motivations of everyone are and what are the drivers of those motivations. And then I think service blueprints are always powerful to actually have as part of our thinking and our process. And another piece of this that I'm absolutely passionate about, and in any kind of project, large or small, we want to be thinking about this blue circle work. The word exploit isn't a great word, but it's the theory, it's the language out of this particular way of thinking. So blue circle work is our current process of business, but what we're doing here is constantly evolving, iterations, refinement, etc. Exploring is this new stream of business, new ways of doing things, and these don't always overlap, but they're really thoughtful to be conscious of how we're doing that. And of course, senior leaders are thinking about, okay, how do we allocate resources and embed this into what we're doing? Something like a business model canvas is key. So with this particular group of folks, I'm keeping them really focused on their big picture. So what's their overall business model? And then this new stream of service, what's the business model for that? How do they overlap? Over here on the left-hand side, these are the sort of the back office pieces and our supplier pieces. So how can we integrate these, or do these need to be quite different? Overall, do we have a single value proposition in terms of the big picture of the business, the quality of care and the segments that we're in, and the category that we're in? And sorry to be using marketing expressions, but sometimes it's really useful to be thinking quite, categorically about those pieces. And then we're thinking about our customers, our patients, and those. So the big picture business model, and then quite specifically each of the lines of business. Again, back to the service blueprint, and here we can be really clever with this. So we can use this to implement our new service line. We can use this to do a diagnostic. How are we going with this? We're using this as a training tool. We're also using this as, okay, are there challenges that are popping up? We need to be really regularly revisiting this. So are there pain points that are popping up as we're examining our business? We're clearly monitoring what our clients are saying, our feedback. We're carefully monitoring and listening to our healthcare providers here in our business. As senior leaders, we're actually thinking about the integration, how this is working overall. And then we're looking at our backstage, as how is the integration of this new business line fitting into our regular backstage actions and our support processes as we go here. And we're going back to our ease of use grid. So how are we doing here? Is it fitting in? What's happening? And maybe we need to be thinking about what's popping up next. And we also want to be really thoughtful about how we're communicating this value. So we're growing this business line. So, what value is it that we're providing? How are we enhancing people's lives. So I love this idea of constantly thinking about what we're doing, and also thinking about our competitors and what are they actually doing in this process. So that's a little bit of an overview of the story of this business. I've just called it Corporation X as we go along here. And hopefully that will give you some thoughts and some ideas as you actually put together the package, we might say, or the set of tools or processes that you want to apply as you're taking care and working on your project initiative.